Hello, everybody, and welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news wrap-up show. I'm Adam Limerace, and with me is Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. We'll be discussing IndyCar silly season news, plus we'll be talking about the Race of Champions as well. But before, we want to encourage everyone that's watching to participate in the chat room. So we're going to start with IndyCar silly season news. Kobe?
Yes, and thank you so much, Adam. Had a little technical difficulties there. Thank you so much for taking care of the intro, and we'll get straight into it. As you said, we're going to talk about some IndyCar silly season news. And Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com provided something interesting details about some developments that have taken place inside the IndyCar paddock in recent weeks, including some bombshells. Roman Grosjean, who made his oval debut yesterday during a test session at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, is believed to be leaving Dale Quinn Racing with Rick Ware Racing to replace Ryan Hunter-Reay in a number 28 Andretti Autosport Honda. And Pruitt says if the deal comes together, Grosjean will become a Honda factory driver, putting him in position to potentially race an accurate DPI in IMSA competition. With Grosjean becoming one of the hottest free agents on the market and trying ovals now, it really seems like he's trying to commit to IndyCar long term. Adam, Grosjean has shown a lot of potential in his first season in IndyCar. Do you think a move to Andretti would be the right decision for him?
I sure do. Um, and I think he would have a shot to win number of races, multiple championships. Plus, if he moves to Andretti, and then he'd be able to compete in some of the biggest IMSA races as well, like the 24 Hours of Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring, and possibly the Sailing 6 Hours of the Glen in Washington Glen, New York. I think it. I'm hoping it does happen, and if it does happen, I'd watch out. Roman Grosjean is a well-known race car driver. He's competed in Formula One, and he's had a lot of success this year in IndyCar. If the move to Andretti is finalized, don't be surprised if Roman Grosjean is at the top of the. If he has multiple wins and competing for championships down the road.
And another seat at Andretti likely to be for sale is James Hinchcliffe's number 29. And Racer mentioned Indy Lights driver Devlin DeFrancesco could get a promotion. However, Indy Lights standout Kyle Kirkwood is definitely a top candidate here, along with Oliver Askew, looking for a second chance in IndyCar. Speaking of Askew, he participated in a test session at Barber Motorsports Park with Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan Racing a couple of days ago. Although Askew's only full-time season of IndyCar competition didn't exactly go well, especially after that concussion, he's still a driver many believe hasn't reached his full potential yet. This year he's racing LMP3 cars in IMSA. He filled in for Felix Rosenquist at race 2 in Detroit and raced at Road America in place of the injured Rinus Vica. So Askew already has 2 IndyCar starts this year as well. Between Andretti, Ray Hall, and who knows, Askew could have several options to return to IndyCar next year. In your opinion, what's more attractive for a young driver looking for a second chance in IndyCar, a team like Andretti trying to regain its competitive form across the board, or RLL planning to expand to 3 full-time entries?
I think I have to go with Andretti Autosport. They have had success in the Indy cars in the past. Take a look at what Alexander Rossi has done. He did win the Indy 500 with them a few years ago. And if I was a young driver, and plus you have Michael Andretti as your team boss. He's well known in the IndyCar series. He's competed in that. He's a former driver. He has won a championship. And don't forget, his dad is legendary driver Mario Andretti. You know, the Andretti name is well known in Indy cars. So for me, I'd have to go with Andretti Autosport.
You choose an Andretti Autosport, and it's really interesting with RLL planning to go to 3 cars next year. And I thought Santino Ferrucci would definitely be a lot for that third seat at Ray Hall because he's scored a top 10, I believe, in every single IndyCar start he's had this season. I think that's remarkable. But at the end of the day, sometimes it can come down to funding and whatever type of sponsorship that you're able to raise. And it doesn't matter how talented you are if you don't have the funding you don't get to race. But Oliver Askew getting an opportunity to test with another IndyCar team with RLL. I think it really shows that he's going to be in high demand for a return to the IndyCar grid. And looking at Oliver Askew's success on the road to Indy, you can't say that Oliver Askew is not a talented driver because he's a very talented driver. His just one full time year with Aero McLaren SP just didn't go well, and it didn't end well for him. But I think he definitely shows that he deserves a second chance in IndyCar. And while we're talking about RLL, last week we got the news about the four-time Indianapolis 500 champion Elio Castroneves returning to IndyCar full-time with Meyer Shank Racing, driving the number '06 Honda. And Jack Harvey surprised Meyer Shank Racing, leaving the number 60 Honda open. And Marshall Pruitt reports that Harvey is most likely headed to RLL, replacing Takuma Sato in the second seat. According to Racer Magazine, Ryan Hunter-Reay could be an option in that number 60 car. A potential Castroneves RHR driver lineup, two Indy 500 champs, will give the team a lot of experience. And this could also be a home for Indy Lights driver Kyle Kirkwood if he doesn't get an IndyCar seat with Andretti. And Pruitt also mentioned something surprising that Team Penske has apparently been doing his homework on Kyle Kirkwood. And with the chance of Simon Pagenaud potentially being out of the number 22 Chevrolet at the end of the year, Meyer Shank Racing also might be a landing spot for the Frenchman. Adam, what are your thoughts on all of these potential moving parts? Could IndyCar silly season be the wildest out of all the series in the grid ranking?
You know, I believe that the 2022 NTT IndyCar grid is going to be absolutely nuts. It's called with Helio Castroneves coming back, and potentially his teammate could be Ryan Hunter-Reay. And we can see drivers like Kyle Kirkwood coming from Indy Lights up to the IndyCar series. It could be a very competitive grid. You're going to have people like Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Helio Castroneves, and don't forget about there'll be sophomores, Scott McLaughlin, Roman Grosjean, and Jimmy Johnson. It could be one of the strongest NTT IndyCar Series grids they've had in a long time. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top next year as champion.
And while it seems like we'll see a lot of movement from drivers currently racing in IndyCar, there appears to be some drivers from the European open wheel racing scene looking to make the move stateside. Surprisingly, Racer Magazine revealed ex-Red Bull Racing Formula One driver Alex Albon could race in IndyCar next year. Initially, Andretti seemed like an option for Albon, but not so much now with the recent developments. However, Pruitt says two other IndyCar teams have or will be making contact with Alex Albon about his fee. And if Alex Albon comes to IndyCar, it does not look like it'll be a Red Bull sponsored car. Right now, he's racing a Red Bull backed Ferrari in DTM and serves as Red Bull's Formula One reserve and test driver. The media outlet The Race is reporting that Albon could also be a contender for the Formula One seat at Nissan due to Oliver Rowland departing the team at the end of the year. Originally, Albon was going to race for Nissan in Formula E after finishing up his stint in FIA Formula 2, but they let him out of his contract a couple of years ago to pursue his Formula One dreams. Alex Albon, another young driver looking for a career resurgence in a top category. How important is it for him to choose the right series in order to get his career back online?
For me, Alex Albon is a well-known driver in Europe. He has competed over there in DTM, and that's considered one of the strongest touring car series in the world, outside of the British Touring Car Championship and the Repco Supercar Series. Um, if Alex Albon comes over here to the United States and competes in Indy cars, I believe he would be successful. He knows the Formula open wheel ranks, coming from series like Formula 2. And do I think he'd win a race? No, but I believe he would be a contender. You know, there, there's a lot of great young talent in Europe right now, and it's going to be interesting to see what the 2022 NTT IndyCar Series grid is going to look like.
For Alex Albon, it really seems like the writing is on the wall in terms of his Formula One career. It doesn't really seem like there's going to be an opportunity for him to return to the grid. So looking outside of Formula One, seeing what else is out there, I think that's a great move for him. And it's really interesting with the reporting from the race saying that Albon could be a contender for Oliver Rowland's open Nissan seat for next year. And considering the fact that he was originally going to drive in Nissan and be a Formula E driver before the opportunity to get into the Red Bull Formula One program arose, and then he took it. And I think any driver would. That would have been a great opportunity for him if he had taken the Nissan deal at first. But when Formula One comes calling, you definitely want to go for Formula One. And now since he's racing in DTM and not racing in Formula One anymore, well in the Grand Prix, I think a move to Formula E or IndyCar would be a great move for Alex Albon, whatever series he decides to race in. And another driver looking at IndyCar is Formula 2 competitor Christian Lundgaard, according to Racer. He tested for Rahal at Barber alongside Oliver Askew. Lundgaard is a part of Alpine's Formula One's young driver development program, and with Esteban Ocon signing a longer contract and Fernando Alonso showing no signs of slowing down, it seems like a promotion to an Alpine Formula One seat seems unlikely. Two other Alpine young drivers, Oscar Piastri and Guan Yu Zhou, currently 1-2 in the Formula 2 championship, while Lundgaard sits 12th in the standings. It's definitely an uphill battle to get into the top 5 in points right now, and the road to Formula 1 for Christian Lundgaard is getting a lot steeper. And if the funding materializes, Lundgaard could potentially contest the IndyCar races at Portland, Laguna Seca, and Long Beach per Pruitt. And with the door likely shut into Formula One, is it a smart move for Christian Lundgaard to see the writing on the wall this early and get a head start on his racing future?
I do believe so. He is competing in the FIA Formula 2 series right now. And I believe if he were it's going to be interesting to see where he makes his next move. Like I just said, there's a great young talent in Europe, and they probably do watch a lot of IndyCar series races over there, and they all probably would like to come over here to race. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if you see someone from the FIA Formula 2 ranks or for one of the junior series come over here to the United States and see how they do against some of the best drivers in the world in the NTT IndyCar series.
I think it's a great move that Christian Lundgaard is looking at for his racing future, and I do think that the writing is on the wall, especially with him being a part of the Alpine Young Driver Academy over across the pond, and with this two other I guess you can call Alpine young driver teammates, Oscar Piastri, Guan Yu Zhou at the very top of the standings, while Lundgaard is mired down in 12th. It really seems like he won't be a top priority in the program because those two drivers are right now in the position to be battling for the championship, and Lundgaard not even in the fight right now. So with the writing on the wall, I certainly think that Kristen Lagarde is really smart to go test an IndyCar, try to make some connections in the IndyCar paddock, and if he can develop find some funding to race IndyCar race at the end of the year, and if he does, he would have to miss, I believe, two FIA Formula Two rounds in order to do that. I think it'll definitely prove to be a right move as he heads on into the future of his open wheel racing career.
Now, some news regarding Sage Karam. Sage Karam is going to make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut at the Indianapolis Road Course in August. He'll be driving the number 31 car for Jordan Anderson Racing, sponsored by Mortgage Mountain Homes. Karam finished 7th in this year's Indianapolis 500.
And now looking at week 18 of the grid ranking, well, it saw changes towards the back of the stand, and Formula E is so unpredictable, and nobody's been able to dominate. Therefore, and there's not a single FIA Formula E driver in the top 10. Last year, Antonio Felix da Costa finished fourth in the grid ranking with no Formula E driver in the top 20. In your opinion, Adam, does a series that's too random and has no dominant team take away from the series, or is that lack of dominance replaced by a high level of competition?
Well, this year we've seen Formula E to be very competitive. Um, their last two rounds in Berlin are going to be races that probably a lot of people in the motorsports industry are going to be watching. I know I will be. It's very shocking to see no Formula E driver in the top 10 grid rankings. There's so much good talent out there. So it's very surprising to me to see no driver from Formula E in the top 10 grid ranking.
And we have Formula One racing this weekend, both Verstappen and Hamilton in the top 10. That rivalry has heated up a ton since Silverstone. Many are wondering if this is the next Senna Prost battle or it could escalate to a more hostile battle, such as Michael Schumacher Williams in the 94 through 97 battle. How concerned are you that we could see more on track incidents between Hamilton and Max Verstappen?
I don't believe this is done because Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are going to go out there and they're going to go out there and they're going to try to dominate the rest of Formula One season. This rivalry is, to me, it's like Prost and Senna, Michael Schumacher and David Hill. This rivalry isn't done, and it's going to be awesome and incredible to see how those two battle it out in Hungary this weekend and the rest of the year on the 2021 FIA Formula One World Championship.
And we've been talking a lot about Shane Van Gisbergen and Sebastian Ogier dominating their respective series. You can see right there at the top of the grid ranking, week 18. However, there is a chance that a dominant Fabio Quartararo from MotoGP might be in contention, depending on how Ogier and SVG do in their remaining races. Do you anticipate Fabio Quartararo remaining the dominant MotoGP rider after MotoGP returns from the summer break?
Of course, he's been the dominant driver. He's been the dominant rider all season long. I don't see why this is gonna. I believe this will. I believe the summer break ain't gonna hurt him. I believe he'll continue to dominate, and I believe he will capture the MotoGP World Championship. It's gonna be interesting to see how everyone else does, especially Marc Marquez. So for me, it's Fabio Quartararo versus the field when it comes to MotoGP.
I definitely think it's going to be a lot of fun following the grid ranking championship. It'll be a fun battle at top between Sebastian Ogier, Shane Van Gisbergen, and if they slip up a little, might see Fabio Quartararo gain some ground. Now here's a look at the full grid ranking, and be sure to stay tuned for another update at the end of the upcoming race weekend, and be sure to follow the grid ranking on Twitter at Grid Ranking. Next, here's Matt White with a Grid World Motorsport League update.
Hi everybody, Matt White here from the Grid World Motorsport League. It's time for this week's WML Top 10 update for week number 22. We missed out on giving you an update last week, so here is this week's brand new Top 10 with now a new man in second position, that is Jonathan Ray. He won all three of World Superbikes races at Assen this past weekend. Leads that championship and jumps from 6th to 2nd in our championship, the Grid World Motorsport League. He's behind current leader Niccolo Maulini, who is his second stint on top of the standings. He's on a score of 20 out of a possible 25. A couple of other slight movers down below Ray, with Christian Hidden and Jason O'Halloran interestingly getting the exact same results at Brands Hatch in British Superbike over the weekend, a win each, a third place each, and a fifth place each. So they continue to have the same difference between them in score, and they're in 9th and 10th position coming out of Brands Hatch. They're going to Thruxton this week, so a double back-to-back weekend of BSV. That'll be one of our main scoring features of this weekend, coming up with Hungary as well. And of course at Hungary we have the return of Formula 3 and the next race of the fourth race of the season for the W Series. And as you would have seen there, Alice Powell is in the top 10. She is 6th at the moment. She was 5th after her second win of the season a couple of weeks ago at Silverstone, but she slipped it down one place in the Grid World Motorsport League this week to 6th, has a chance to improve. She's obviously the top female in the Grid WML scoring spreadsheet in 6th position. She's also the highest returning racer that scored in 2019, but due to the pandemic and other reasons did not score last year. So Alice has got two titles to her name in that category. in those categories. The other category is top rookie. And Jamie Chadwick, another of our W Series alumni, is top of that category in 20th position overall, which is the top rookie for newest scoring member of the Grid W ML for 2021. So big weekend coming up this weekend. As I mentioned, British Superbikes at Thruxton. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix, the next chapter in the Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen, their fight for supremacy there. And it's the Spa 24 hours as well this weekend. So looking very much forward to that. And one other note, we finally got all of the Grid World Motorsport League scoring events underway because the World Rallycross Championship started at Barcelona last Saturday. So we're now almost into August and we've finally got all of our scoring championships underway with their season. Another update for you next week as we pile into August. And NASCAR, of course, is back in a couple of weeks at Watkins Glen. So very much looking forward to that and see how that changes things. A little bit further down, Kyle Busch is the top full-time NASCAR scorer in the point standings. He's 44th overall at this moment in time in the summer break. We'll see how he gets on at the Glen along with everybody else. In a couple of weeks' time, we'll be back to bring you this week's update on the show next Wednesday.
With the Tokyo Summer Olympics taking place in Japan, it got us thinking about the Race of Champions, the event where top drivers from all major disciplines come together to compete in equal equipment in various different types of race cars. Motorsports isn't a part of the Olympic Games today, but it won't stop us from having a little fun. We're going to play a little game and we encourage all of our viewers to participate. Thinking of a hypothetical scenario, imagine motorsports it was included in the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, Japan, with all the major racing series around the world taking a summer break. Let's say we're going to highlight Japanese motorsport with equal Super Formula and Super GT cars for all competitors. In addition, Tony Stewart and Ray Everham send their SRX cars over to Japan. Then World Rally Championship prepares some equal cars for some off-road fun. Imagine the Race of Champions being the automatic qualifier for the Summer Games with only 6 countries eligible to advance to the Olympics, 2 active drivers per nation, 12 competitors in each event, 2 short Super Formula races at Suzuka, Super GT over at Fuji, SRX cars at Twin Ring Motegi Oval, if it was still in operation, then a rally across the Japan countryside. And here are the rules of the game we're going to play. I'll read off each country. You give 2 drivers you want to see represent that nation, a brief description on why you chose each driver while keeping the different types of vehicles in mind, but you can't pick 2 drivers racing full time in the same series represent the same country. For example, you can't have 2 NASCAR Cup Series drivers on Team USA, but you can have a NASCAR Cup driver and an IndyCar driver representing Team USA. Each driver and country would receive points based on how they do in each race. First place with 12 points, all the way down to last place receiving a single point. At the end of the Motorsports Olympics, the driver scoring the most points will get the gold medal, followed by silver in second place, and third getting bronze. If there's a tie in points, then the tiebreaker is going to go to the most wins. Also, the country that scores the most points between the 2 drivers will also receive medals. And please be sure to leave all your picks down in the chat room below. And we'll start with you, Adam. What are your 2 drivers for Team USA?
Well, for me, I'm going to go with 2 drivers that we don't from series that we don't talk about here at the Grid Network. I'm going to start with the man that he doesn't need an introduction, but he's going to get one. Representing the NHRA Drag Racing Series, I'm going with man, the myth, the legend, John Force. He has won multiple races and multiple championships, and he's one of the best racers in that series. And my next pick, I'm going to the dirt. Yes, I'm going to the dirt. I'm going with the King of the Outlaws, Steve Kinser. He's just like John Force. He's a multiple series, multiple race winner, multiple national title winner. He's one of the best that's ever competed on the dirt, and I believe those 2 are 2 strong contenders for Team USA.
And for me, my first pick for Team USA would be IndyCar driver Joseph Newgarden. And I think Joseph Newgarden is certainly one of the most polished drivers in open wheel racing. And second driver, I'm going to go with one of the most diverse, versatile drivers in NASCAR, Kyle Larson. on how Kyle Larson does in NASCAR. Then he go runs modifieds, midgets, wingless sprint, wing sprint cars. I think with all the different machinery between open wheel, those super GTs, rally, SRX cars, I think Kyle Larson would definitely give Team USA the best chance of winning the gold medal because he can really adapt to race cars, unlike any other driver that we really see in modern times. Next up, Team Great Britain.
Me, for Team Great Britain, I'm going to start out with Lewis Hamilton. Of course, we all know who he is. And then I'm going to go to a series that I really like to watch, the British Touring Car Championship. And I'm going with Jason Plato. He is a multiple race winner in the series. He has won, so he's really good in that series. I believe he'd be really good when it comes to all the oval, all the road courses, and he's just one of my favorite drivers overall that competes in the British Touring Car Championship.
And my picks for Great Britain, just like you, Adam, going with Sir Lewis Hamilton. He's obviously the best British driver in the world. And then second pick, I was having a little trouble coming with this, going with Sam Bird from Formula E. Sam Bird has experience in LMP2, and he's driven the AF Corse, a GT Ferrari, and now he's racing in Formula E. I think Sam Bird would certainly be a great pick for Team Britain. Next up, Team New Zealand.
For me, I'm going to have to go with, first of all, I'm going to go with Scott Dixon. We all know who he is. He's well known in the NTT IndyCar series. Then I think I can use this pick, but I'm going to go Scott McLaughlin. I know he's a former supercars driver, but now races in the NTT IndyCar series. I think he'd be really good over there in Japan, and it gives Team New Zealand a shot to win gold.
And Adam, since Scott McLaughlin is now racing full time in the IndyCar series, you can't go with Scott Dixon. And Scott McLaughlin has to be another driver. But for me, I'm choosing Scott Dixon over Scott McLaughlin. And then the other driver I'm going to go with alongside McLaughlin is Shane Van Gisbergen because he's absolutely on fire right now down under. And I'm sure if Scott McLaughlin was still racing full time in the Repco Supercars Championship, I probably would pick him over Shane Van Gisbergen. So Adam, really like what you said with Scott Dixon and Scott McLaughlin, and it's really a tough toss up between all of those drivers. And next up, Team Mexico.
Oh boy, for Team Mexico, that I would have all my drivers I want to pick for Team Mexico. Unfortunately, not racing. So, honestly, I don't really follow a lot of racers from Mexico. So I'm going to have to pass on this country, Kobe. So I'm just going to hand it off to you.
Okay, and my two drivers for Team Mexico, I go with Pato Award. I think he's certainly going to be a future superstar in the IndyCar series, and you can definitely argue he's certainly on his way to doing that. The young Mexican driver, he's everything you want. He has a lot of raw speed, makes smart decisions, really quick, and he has such an energetic personality. So I think Pato Award would definitely be a great pick. And I've been going back and forth my second pick between Sergio Perez and Daniel Suarez, but I decided to go Checo to be the second driver for Team Mexico. I think him and Pato O'Ward would definitely make a wonderful duo. And next up, Team France.
For me, Team France, uh, Team France I'd have to go. Oh boy, very hard choices. Um, this one I'm having a hard time with as well. So, Kobe, I'm going to let you handle the last two.
Okay, I'll handle the last two with France and Team Brazil. And for France, I'm gonna go with Romain Grosjean and Sebastian Ogier from World Rally Championship. I definitely think during the rally cross portion, Sebastian Ogier would definitely be a cheat code over all the other drivers in Team Brazil. Going with the four-time Indianapolis 500 champion Elio Castroneves. I think he would do a great job, and also Pippo Durrani from IMSA. I think he's a really, really, really talented driver who's done a lot of great things at a young age in sports car racing. I think Pippo Durrani still has many years ahead of him in his career, and there are things that he's going to accomplish before he retires from motorsports. Next, here's Adam with some news from Supercars and our Pick a Winner segment.
Thanks, Kobe. The COVID-19 has been really effective in Australia, and according to motorsport.com, Bathurst 1000, known as the Great Race, it could get postponed until November or December. It's been, and the supercar schedule is going to get very wacky as the season continues. Keep it here with Rich and I with all your supercars news. And regarding another team, Kelly Groves Racing, the Kelly brothers have announced that they've sold their remaining half of the team to Grove Racing. The team has been together for 13 years. Rick and Todd Kelly are well known. They have competed in they've won multiple Bathurst 1000s, multiple races, and it's going to be interesting to see who the drivers will be when it comes to the 2022 Repco Supercars Championship. And now it's time for our Pick a Winner segment. And as we take a look at the leaderboard, Joe is first, Kobe and I are tied for second, Matt is fourth, and Ben is fifth. So, Kobe, I'll start with you. Who's your pick for the W Series race at the Hungaroring in Hungary?
Well, I'm going to go with the driver that currently has the most momentum in the series, and that's Alex Powell. Alice Powell.
For me, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to go say Jamie Chadwick finds a way to win Hungary. Back to you, Kobe.
And just like that, another episode of Grit Tonight in the books. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the Grit Network here on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We definitely encourage you to visit our Patreon page and invest us. Big shout out. Thank you so much, Colin, Mark, and DeShell for supporting Grit Network. Be sure to check out Paw Bless. Please consider spoiling your furry friend. They have dog leashes, clothing, and accessories for dogs of all sizes. 10% of your purchase goes towards helping homeless, sick, and rescue dogs. On Thursday morning, we have a new episode of the Women Racing Win. Saturday, Grit Live pre-race. Everyone looking forward to another chapter to the epic title fight between Sir Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Sunday, back on the air. The Grit Live wrap-up to discuss everything that happened in Hungary. So definitely should be quite an exciting Formula One racing for Adam Lemmeries. I'm Cubby Lambert from the Podium Finish. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Pawbliss. Pawbliss is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out pawbliss.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.